Okay, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be working on our 2019 Honda Accord with the 2.0 turbo engine. We're going to do a basic oil change and filter change. There's a couple of tools that you're going to need to complete the job successfully. We've got a couple of ramps here to bring the car up so we can get underneath it. We went with the Mobil 1 full synthetic 0W20. We've also got a pair of channel lock pliers that allow us to grip that oil filter if we need to break it loose. We have a Phillips screwdriver, we have a flathead screwdriver, we also have a 17mm socket wrench, and of course the factory OEM oil filter and the crush washer. And this particular part number is 15400 PLM-A02. And then we also have a container for our used oil. Let's get started.
Okay, here we are underneath the car. Let's take just a couple minutes to orient ourselves on what we're looking at. On the left side of your screen is the back of the car. Right side of the screen is the front of the car. This is the oil pan. This is the oil drain plug. Your oil filter is located here. And what we need to do to access the oil filter is remove the 3 plastic screws by turning them to the left 90 degrees, and the panel will come off. On the left side is a larger panel. It's also recommended that you remove that by removing all the associated screws as well. Now that we have all of the screws out of this panel, we want to push toward the back of the car, releasing the 2 tabs and also the lip in the front. And then it should come right out. You'll notice that this is the oil pan, this is the drain plug, this is the exhaust, and this is the 10-speed transmission. This is our drain plug, and we want to make sure that whenever we remove the drain plug, as well as the oil filter, that we minimize any oil from getting on the exhaust. That's going to help prevent smoke, which will eventually burn off within a few days.
Okay, and on this Honda, it's a 17mm socket. So we've got our socket here. And we're going to turn it to the left. I may take just a little bit of a tap. Now you can see that we're getting loose. This is going to come out very, very fast. And so what I recommend, loosening it, leaving a couple of the threads in, double check the position of your oil pan. Of course, you definitely want to wear gloves, and then keep turning. It is a little bit warm because I've let this engine warm up, so it will all flow out. So be wary that it's going to be hot when it comes out, and try not to get any on you. Next step is to turn the oil filter counterclockwise and then it will also drain. So make sure you've positioned your oil catch container underneath the oil filter as appropriate. Remember, just keep turning to the left. There's going to be a little bit of oil that comes out of here, so I like to spin it and then just let it drain just a little bit, as you see there. That's what's remaining in the oil filter, so we're going to let that drain for just a bit. By letting it drain after you've cracked open the seal of that oil filter, it prevents a lot of the oil from getting on the oil pan itself. And remember, if you can keep the oil off the oil pan or this exhaust, it's going to minimize any of the smoke. Okay, you can see that we've pretty much slowed to just a slow drip from both the oil pan and a slow drip from the oil filter. So let's go ahead and take this oil filter off. There'll be a little bit more oil that comes out, as you see there, and that is from what's left in the oil filter. Alright, so now that we have our oil filter off, take our rag, wipe off any drips that you happen to see. Also wipe off that sealing surface that's up underneath the engine. I'll show you what that looks like here. Whenever you're tightening this oil filter, you want to turn it a quarter turn once the rubber gasket meets that metal flange. We're going to take this new oil filter. We're going to rub a little bit of oil around the new rubber seal, so that way it makes a really good seal whenever we tighten it. We're going to place it up in to the oil filter housing right here, and we're going to turn it to the right to tighten it. There we go. You can feel it, it's going on. See how easy it spins? And we know that we've got it in there good. So right when it stops, I know that that rubber gasket has now met the bottom of the seating surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do about a quarter turn just to make sure it's tight, but not over tight. I should get it. And I'll take my rag. If there's any of that oil, you just wipe that right off. Final step is to put that new crush washer onto the drain plug that we just removed, and then place it back in. We're going to place our new crush washer on to the cleaned off oil drain plug, like that. And then back into the oil pan, and you turn it to the right. There you go. It turns really easy once you get it in there correctly. You don't need to tighten it very tight. I believe the Honda is 25 foot-pounds. You'll want to check your owner's manual just to be sure. So continue to tighten it until it's finger tight. Go ahead and wipe the surface once it's finger tight. Back in with your 17mm wrench. Remember, you're going to turn clockwise in order to tighten it. And there we are. So we're tight there. I usually turn it just a little bit past that. It doesn't need to be over tight, because again, it's an aluminum crush washer, and it's going to crush just ever so slightly to hold the oil in. And we're ready to replace the protective panels in reverse of what we did just a moment ago. Okay, so let's install the panel. Don't forget, the front lip actually goes underneath the bumper shroud in the front, and then there's two tabs, and we're going to put those in as we move this forward and latch it up underneath the front lip of the bumper. Then the final step is to attach the shield over the oil filter. And it's time to move the top of the car and add the oil. Okay, back on top of the Honda, we're getting ready to add the engine oil. This is the final step of the oil change process. We've got our funnel, and you can see right here on the left side is where you add the oil. Okay, so we'll take our funnel, hold it steady, start adding the oil. We'll move our funnel. Let's go ahead and check the level. You can see on this dipstick it has a low and a high mark. We're going to make sure that that oil is sitting somewhere in between there. And you can see that the mark is there. Let's go reset the maintenance minder, and then we'll be done. Okay, we're back inside the car, and now all that's left is for us to reset the maintenance minder. So the first thing we're going to do is press the home button on the left side of the steering wheel. That's going to bring up the menu in the dash. You're going to use the scroll wheel to scroll down to where it says maintenance, and then you're going to push the scroll wheel in to select maintenance. You'll see that it says oil life, and in order to reset it, you push in the reset button. You'll need to scroll to where it says maintenance reset, continue to scroll, all items due, select OK by pushing straight in, and then it will indicate reset completed. You'll notice that your oil life has now returned back to 100%, and that's it.